Hey everybody, it's Fernando again, and you know what that means? It's time to read some poetry. So today it's Friday, and I figured maybe we'll read two poems. Maybe we'll make Fridays a special thing. If I record on a Friday, it'll be an exciting thing where I do either some really fun poem or a poem that leads us into the weekend. Last time it was a love poem, and it was, Valentine's Day the Sunday after, so maybe that'll be the theme for Fridays. If I record on a Friday, it'll just be some fun double whammy type situation. Today, it actually is a literal double whammy because it's going to be two poems. The main reasons that I wanted to read these is because, one, they are part of a set, and two, because it's a topic that's going to come up a little bit more. And I sort of wanted us to have this introduction to it that's a little bit easier to deal with before we got into the heavier stuff. And that topic is addiction. It was something that I struggled with secretly for a long time that only very close friends of mine knew, and even closer family. And after I had started to get better about trying to deal with that, after I had finally given up a lot of those things that I shouldn't have been hanging on to, it got easier to look back on. And so that's kind of what the first poem of this pair is about, the one that I'll read first. This poem is sort of this view, this poetic, metaphorical view of these moments from the beginning, from the first few drugs that I'd tried, to as everything started to spiral apart, basically. So we kind of start at the beginning where things are coherent and things make sense, and then we sort of dissolve into what it's like to continue spiraling down that path into the feeling, regardless of how good that disorientation might feel. You look back on it, and sometimes it's just this blur of moments that continued to happen, and some were blissful, and some were happy, and some were euphoric. But that wasn't you. It wasn't a real feeling. It was a drug feeling. And as good as it feels, and as good as it sometimes feels to even think back on it, you know that those things, those substances, were destroying your life. And that's how the first poem ends. It starts off on this very happy, coherent note and dissolves into that sort of mush where you don't really understand what's happening, but things are pretty and they sound fun and they flow well. And then, it ends on this sort of somber realization of what has happened and how things have faded away. And then the second poem is the opposite side to that. It's trying to find the good moments in all of the ridiculous crap that happened while I was abusing, while I was doing really terrible things, and even some moments that sort of bled in with that maybe fit that euphoric feeling that sort of meshed with the feelings that I was experiencing while I was abusing. And that's the second poem. The second poem is just this more lighthearted romp, trying to forget some of the bad things, trying to forget the worst parts of all those situations, and remember all the crazy moments that happened in between. Yeah. So we'll start with the first one. The first one it's called New Summer Moon. And this piece has actually been published by the Bangalore Review, which I'm super grateful for. So that's really great. If you ever wanted to look up my name and go to the Bangalore Review, you can read this poem as well. Thank you, Bangalore Review. That was published in 2020. I was pretty excited about that. But, we'll go ahead and read it. This one is technically a page poem, but I think it translates well trying to read it out loud. So, New Summer Moon. The pill passes fondly between hands. Overhead the sky is filled with the wretched screaming of some thousands of cicadas. The stars gather watching. It is bright, and as the ecstasy breaks down in my blood, it gets brighter. We get louder, like summer means nobody is allowed to call the police on noisy kids looking up at the stars. Wasting away, dissolving into that deep night sweat, sticking clothes to withered bodies, close friends erasing the past as the strain of a future unknown lulls them toward it. I tilt my head back over the side of the truck bed, millennia passing and swinging back around to meet me in the grass, staring up at the same sky. Under a new summer moon, we are lost, an apartment complex full of lost bodies, anxious and waiting for release. Nobody here is bothered by the sounds of inhibitions gone. Tonight the skies sing melodies, the stars twang like guitar strings play loud, and I'm lost in something new. Extravagant, plastic pill casings sit empty, white powder chemistry. We open a door to a dirty apartment living room, and the stars tumble in like balloons, waves of them, clinging to the ceiling as the moments fade away into another summer day, losing minutes like jobs to bliss uncontrollable, singing sweet hymns to the earth that can only hear me when I'm buried in bright exposition. Falling back to the patio, overlooking an empty and run-down field of grass. Brown bodies I don't know grow older as the summer sun melts their age into the dirt, one salty drop at a time. Cigarette lingering in between filthy fingers. The street lights paint the road I'm on once the sun slithers back into its winter burrow. I am dull colors faded on new delight. I am no longer having fun. That was New Summer Moon. Like I said, it's a very metaphorical poem. It starts in the beginning a little bit coherent. You sort of understand the journey. And then as we get further and further, that drug trip, that drug euphoria that sort of exists in the memories of a lot of people who've experienced addiction takes over, and a lot of those memories are blurry and they blend in with one another, and you think about it and sometimes you can't remember if this experience happened at this point in time or if it happened at another, and it gets hard to understand exactly what was happening in your own past. And so that's what the poem was supposed to represent. And the second part of that, like I said, was just trying to find the good points in all of those bad, crazy moments, and sort of relating them back to some of those memories when I didn't have drugs in my system and when I was just existing. Yeah. I think this one is a little bit less metaphorical and easier to understand. This one's called Old Summer Moon. I am trying to write a love letter to the good memories. The ones I have to beat the walls for, hiding in corners of my house for safekeeping, under the floorboards, buried in the yard, making maps in my mind of streets I used to run through. And maybe my brown skin makes me want to ignore that this place could be a little bit of home. Even if I don't feel so welcome, it's got so many of my good memories carved into the picnic tables, into the bark of old splintered trees, the branches and limbs all broken from climbing, falling, building tree houses and popping fireworks, the limbs of old oaks burned down because two cousins wanted to see who had the best aim, flinging black cats and bottle rockets into knotholes, into that chorus of oh shits I've bellowed from gut to throat that sing out from a past of bad decisions that make for great stories, that make for scenes out of movies I've never seen, from films that would never do my eyes justice, every stupid acid trip that left us under a cloudy sky with a knock, knock, knock echoing out from just below heaven, every fist fight, every single gash or cigarette burn or broken heart that hit me. I want to write a love letter for every different song that played every single time we jumped the car over the hill, that hill where the road lines the cemetery and we rolled the windows down, a different classic rock song every time we jumped, waiting at the stop sign for the perfect moment to floor it, tombstones bouncing guitar riffs into that old summer moon. A love letter to every car I crashed, to every friend I lost, and every time I thought I might die. I'm trying to write that letter. I just need to forget a few things first. Thanks. Have a good weekend.